Hey y'all, welcome back. So we're going to look again at the rod and the staff of the shepherd. So we talked yesterday about the rod being symbolic of discipline, and that the rod as a tool of the shepherd was used to keep the sheep in line when they would walk away or begin to separate. He would use the rod to bring them back in. Now, why would that be important? Why would it be important to us as children of God? And why would it be important? I'm trying not to get ahead of myself because I don't want to jump the gun. But he says that even though I walk through the deep sunless valley, the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear or dread no evil, for you are with me. Your rod to protect and your staff to guide, they comfort me. So the rod, the Amplified Version too, is used as protection. And that's one thing that David talked about when he was going before King Saul. He said, I'll fight Goliath. And Saul said, you're too young, you have no experience. And so when David talked as a shepherd, he says when the bear came, when the lion came, he used the rod and staff that he had as a weapon to protect his sheep. And so that is part of the rod as protection and discipline. Why do we have rules? What are the purpose of rules? If you're a parent, why did you have rules for your children? Well, it was for their safety. It wasn't just because you didn't want them to do something. You didn't want them to do something it would be damaging or hurtful to them. And so if, like we read yesterday, correct your son and he will give you rest, it's very important for me to correct Joseph. And what's the opposite of rest? Worry, anxiety, unrest. Those things would come if we do not correct our children, if we don't teach our children, if we don't train our children, if they don't know the difference between right and wrong. So if I give my child parameters, and let's just go with in the swimming pool or water because it's summertime and we can all relate to that. So if I tell Joseph that you can be in this section of water, what have I just done? I have given him freedom, right, to roam, to play, to be in a safe place. And it's the same way with God our Father. It's the same way with His parameters, His way of doing and being right. When it says in Matthew, and I keep going back to this because this is just foundational. He says, but seek, aim at, and strive after, first of all, His kingdom and His righteousness. That's His way of doing and being right. And all these things will be given to you besides. Well, we must do it His way. It must be His way of doing and being right. We must be inside His parameters, those things that He has set forth for our safety, for our benefit, for our prosperity, our success, for our good. And the same thing, let's go back to the swimming pool with Joseph. If he listens and obeys my ordinances, what I have set, the rules that I have placed before him, then he is in a safe place and he is free to roam and play in there. He has freedom. But if he wanders or ventures outside of those parameters, he's in danger. And then he is susceptible to all kinds of things. And so me as his parent, guardian, you look at it with God our Father and Good Shepherd, it's our responsibility to bring them back in, bring the sheep back in, bring our children back in to the safe parameters. And that was one use of the rod. And when we look at it in discipline, it's very important. I'm not talking about beating, and he who spares the rod spoils the child. If you spare disciplining your child, if you spare correcting your child, if you spare giving your child safe parameters, you're spoiling the child. Well, and let's look at the word spoiling in several different ways. Not just spoiling, making them rotten or making them selfish or making them just to be not pleasant to be around, but spoiling them as in setting them up for failure, setting them up for destruction. We are responsible to train and teach our children, just as the shepherd is responsible for keeping his sheep safe, training his sheep, being sure that when they get out of line, he brings them back in. It is our responsibility. God the Father, it is His heart to teach us, to train us. That's why we have Holy Spirit, to keep us in line. Because, Galatians, let's just go there. We're already at the 5-minute mark. Galatians chapter 5 says it is for freedom that he has set us free. Let me get there. Galatians 5:1, in this freedom Christ has made us free, completely liberated us. Stand fast then and don't be hampered and held and snared and submit again to a yoke of slavery. Well, he's talking about the law, circumcision, all of those do's and don'ts, yes and no's, which, by the way, were very important, and that's what, staying within the parameters of the law, allowed God to bless the children of Israel. But he also says, walk and live habitually in the Holy Spirit, responsive to and controlled and guided by the Spirit, and then you will not satisfy or gratify the cravings and desires of the flesh, which is human nature without God. So see, it's like the Holy Spirit is that rod for us, that he guides us and he leads us. And when we are obedient to the Holy Spirit, then we are not gratifying the desires and the cravings of our flesh, which are outside of the parameters of God. So we'll pick up again here tomorrow, and I will see you then. Bye, y'all.